This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Hey, everybody. Oh, I'm little again in the corner. It is the After Party live on a Waterfall Wednesday. And a little rough on the Mark Thompson show, not going to lie. It seemed like we had connectivity issues with everyone today. So, I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be here on the After Party live with you. Thank you so much for joining in and for all the early comments, because I can see a lot of good ones coming through. And that includes a hello from Heather. I see it. All I needed was one yes from you, Heather, to start early. Tammy says, belugas are so cool. Happy Waterfall Wednesday. Thanks, Tammy, for that. Rhonda says, baby beluga, sung to my babies. Interesting you should say that, Rhonda, because I saw your comment, and guess what I found? I found Jacob, who learned this song in preschool. Absolute cutest. If you don't know the song, Jacob will sing it to you. It's the Baby Beluga song. And it's Little White Whale on the Go, not a Whittle White Whale, but you'll see.
Lucy, swim so wild and swim so free, heaven above and sea below, and read whale on the go. Baby beluga, baby beluga, is your daddy home? Is your daddy home with you? So happy. When I can't away, I pack dolphins, splash all day and a splash all day.
Uh-oh. Forgetting the words.
Good night, all. Good night. Good night.
Good night, world. Good night, that's it.
Baby beluga.
Oh, gotta love baby Jake.
In the deep blue sea.
Cute.
Swim so wild and swim so free. Heaven above and sea below. And read whale on the go. They're just a big whale on the go. Yay!
Yay for Jacob. So yeah, the song has a lot of memories for me. Singing that song over and over again with him, so good. And I know, yeah, it's so cute, right? Love it. I'm glad you do, because sometimes people show videos of their kids and you're like, oh, can't wait till this is over. But yeah, I love it. Adorable little Jake. He's still cute. He's 11 now, but I'll always remember those songs that we sang together so fondly, and Baby Beluga at the top of the list. And it made me love these creatures and think of them so fondly. And now we have a horrible story. I told you the other day about these beluga whales that are in Canada. And Canada has some, as they should, very strict rules concerning the way these creatures are treated. This Canadian Marine Park wanted to sell the 30 beluga whales that they have remaining at the park to China, to a theme park in China. And Canada blocked this theme park called Marineland, which is located in Niagara Falls. They blocked them. On the Ontario side of that Niagara Falls area. They blocked them from selling their belugas to China because of the way that China might treat these animals. So they said they don't want them sold to Chimelong Ocean Kingdom theme park in China, because it would have meant a continued life in captivity and a return to public entertainment. And that is not the hope for these belugas. But now, and this is the horrible thing, and I hope there's an outpouring of support for these beautiful creatures. This Marineland in Canada is saying their situation is so dire that unless it gets an infusion of cash, they'll have to euthanize their 30 beluga whales. Because Canada said they can't sell them to China, now Marineland is saying, well, if you don't let us sell them off to another theme park, we're going to have to kill them. Really? You're going to kill these beautiful, amazing creatures? The folks in Canada visiting the officials have visited the closed marine land facility, and they are still concluding that these whales belong in the ocean. They want them there. They had a federal law in Canada passed in 2019 that banned keeping whales, dolphins, and porpoises for breeding or for amusement. But the theme park is saying there is no suitable ocean sanctuary or facility for these beluga whales, and that their financial situation is such that they are unable to meet the cost of the care for these whales, that it costs so much money they just can't do it. Canada says, don't threaten us with that because we're not going to bail you out. They say the fact that marine land is not planned for a viable alternative, despite raising these whales in captivity for many years, does not place the onus on the Canadian government to cover your expenses. The Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, says it should be the federal government that allows them to move the belugas to China or other marine areas that will take them. But saying no to everything and not coming up with a solution is not a great suggestion. So now there are other groups like the Toronto Zoo, World Animal Protection, Animal Justice, writing to the leaders of Ontario, Canada, urging the government to seize these animals. Nobody wants to see these belugas die or not taken care of properly. I'm hoping we can save the belugas so they can swim so wild and they can swim so free. And they can be the little white whale on the go. Because I love them. They're so sweet and amazing. Okay, on to stories that maybe aren't so sad. How about this? This is another one of these. I love, these are my favorite kind of stories. It might be my favorite. I like some science stories, but I'm telling you, somebody donated artifacts to a thrift shop. And there was a anthropologist walking through, archaeologist walking through, just an archaeologist walking through the thrift store who spotted these things and said they date to medieval times. What? Who donates medieval artifacts to the Goodwill? 11 rings and 2 medallions were spotted at the Thrifty Boutique in Chilliwack, British Columbia. They might be more than 1,000 years old. The artifacts now have a new home at the Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology at Simon Fraser University. They'll be the focus of a whole new archaeology class where students will have a chance to try to solve the mystery of their origins. The students will be acting as detectives, trying to figure out where they came from. So here's what we know about these objects. Here they are, the 11 rings, the medallion. So cool. They say when the objects were originally donated to this thrift shop, they came in the spring of 2024. And the staff and the volunteers there had no idea what they were looking at. Didn't know they were of significance. So they put a price tag on each item, 30 Canadian dollars. That's about $21 US. And then they put them out for sale. This thrift shop funds the Chilliwack Hospice Society, helping people with grief and bereavement support. So then enter this archaeologist who stumbles across these items and flags them to the thrift shop volunteers. He said, listen, you got something here that I think maybe you need to get in touch with the archaeology experts and bring people in, because what you have is not a $21 item here. So the folks at the thrift shop reach out to Fraser University, and at first the archaeologists didn't know if they should accept them because there's no official documentation with them. Their provenance is in question, right? There's a chance that they were illegally looted before they were donated to the thrift shop. So where did they come from? How did they get there? Cotton Eye Joe. about a year going back and forth with the thrift shop and the archaeologist finally agreed to take the items and add them into the collection of the university's Museum of Archaeology and Ethnology. They said they accepted them so they didn't end up on the private antiquities market, which would have been worse. Usually, the university needs to know where the things came from in order for them to have research value. But this, they say, was a one-off case, some type of curiouser and curiouser kind of case. And so the archaeologists are now believing, pardon me, that these artifacts date to the 4th or 5th century based on the materials and the techniques, that they originated somewhere in what was once the Western Roman Empire. How did they get to a thrift shop in British Columbia? So weird. So they're most interested in the smaller of the two medallions. It features Greek letters CH and the Roman letter RH. And together the letters form a Christogram or Christogram for the sign of Christ. But all this will be fleshed out, hopefully, because next fall, undergrad students are going to study these rings and the medallions in hopes of learning more about the history of these items. So they'll go through the process of this whole collection. They'll do some archival research, some scientific analysis. They'll learn how to use digital technologies to study objects. They say it'll take a semester or longer, and that it should be a really rewarding journey for students. They might discover that these items are forgeries, but even that, they say, could be a valuable finding. They might learn how to spot a fake from a real object. Maybe bring up the conversation about forgeries in the antiquities market. They might talk about ethical questions that the museum had to consider before they accepted the artifacts. One wonders if I mean, when you donate to a thrift store, you just kind of pass over the box and they don't know what's inside. But the museum definitely had some ethical things to consider here. The researchers at the university say the fact that these items continue to exist is quite extraordinary. That if they are actually hundreds or thousands of years old, then at any point along the way, they could have been lost or broken or discarded. Yet they've been kept, they've been preserved, and now they're entering a new chapter. What a story. It would be so interesting to know all the hands they passed through over the years before they got to the thrift shop. Fascinating. There's a rare image that has been captured. A comet, an interstellar comet from outside of our solar system, whizzing by Mars. There it is in a grainy photograph. Interstellar comet 3 Atlas, the third such object ever confirmed to have entered our solar system. And astronomers are very interested in this. This is a mysterious interstellar comet. It streaked past Mars last week. A spacecraft in orbit around Mars had a front row seat, snapped a couple of images of this comet known as 3I Atlas. The pictures were released yesterday by the European Space Agency, and they show this fuzzy white dot moving against the vast expanse of space. Oh, interesting. Okay, so there's the picture of it, but there is video as well, which I must show. This just makes it so much more interesting when you can actually see it moving. All right, here's what it looks like. You see that? You can see it moving through the sky. There it is. I mean, wow. So again, this is only the third such interstellar object, comet, ever confirmed to have entered our solar system. And that makes it more fascinating, I think. Astronomers studying its movement say The object's orbital path will take it swinging through the inner solar system in the weeks ahead, with this comet reaching its closest point to the sun around October 30th. They say 3I Atlas does not pose a threat to Earth. It will remain about 170 million miles away during its flyby. But it's a lot closer to Mars than they anticipated. The ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, operated by the European Space Agency and Russia's Federal Space Agency, trained the camera they have on this comet for about a week, beginning on October 1st. And during that time, the comet was about 18.6 million miles away from the spacecraft. But they used other orbiter instruments to take pictures of the surface of Mars and not this object millions of miles away. It was a very challenging observation for the instrument, they said. The comet is around 10,000 to 100,000 times fainter than their usual target. So, very interesting. There are 2 other interstellar objects confirmed as visitors from beyond our solar system, one in 2017 and one in 2019. European Space Agency saying every planet, moon, asteroid, comet, and life form in our solar system share a common origin. But interstellar comets are true outsiders, carrying clues about the formation of the worlds far beyond our own. That is why they want to study its size and its physical properties. This object was visible to ground-based telescopes earlier this year. Now they say it's too close to the sun to observe, but is expected to emerge into view again on the other side of the sun by early December. NASA monitoring this comet with the Hubble Space Telescope over the summer. They're planning additional observations in the months ahead. So, there it is. Wonder what secrets it carries along with it. If you partake of HelloFresh, I wanted to make sure everyone knows this, because I didn't put it in the newscast earlier, but the USDA is warning of a potential listeria contamination in HelloFresh meals, specifically those that contain certain types of produce. So they put out a public health alert. Over 2 HelloFresh meal kits, the cheesy pulled pork pepper pasta and the ready-made unstuffed peppers with ground turkey. Both products were shipped directly to HelloFresh subscribers. There have been no confirmed adverse outcomes with them, but the parent company of HelloFresh, called Fresh Realm, discovered that the spinach used in those products tested positive for listeria, so they are recalling those. The products were distributed nationwide, they say, through both retail stores and distributors. They tested a bulk case of spinach from their supplier, and it was found positive for listeria, and so they need to get those out. So that's, if you order the HelloFresh, heads up. How about maybe for career number 2, we can all pool our money and somehow cobble together enough to purchase a ski resort in Tahoe. We're going to need more money than just the $5.8 million it'll take to buy this resort, because as you can see here, it's pretty raggedy and we're going to need some upgrades. This is a long abandoned ski resort about 20 miles south of Lake Tahoe. It's called the Iron Mountain Resort. It's got broken down ski lifts and burn scars from the Caldor fire. It's 65 acres, and they already have permits pre-approved to build condos. It's also zoned for a new ski resort and for camping as well, according to the sellers. $5.8 million for the old Iron Mountain Resort. The listing agent selling this property says they think that it's the best opportunity for a mom and pop type ski resort. So this is really near Kirkwood. It's right off Highway 88, and the Mormon Immigrant Trail in El Dorado County. When it first opened, it was called Silver Basin. There's the old Silver Basin map. And thank you to SF Gate for this really interesting story. So it was called Silver Basin. It was opened in 1971 by this man named John Allen. And it was unique because, according to SF Gate, visitors could ski down the upside down mountain from the lodge and the parking lot without getting on a ski lift until they reached the very bottom. There were big struggles to get people to come here. It kind of fell flat. He even put out an advertisement that said, "I have a problem and I need your help. My problem is that not too many people know where to find Highway 88. I don't have long, crowded lift lines. Last year, the management of the restaurant was a great disappointment." This is in the ad to get people to come. He then explained that his wife was to blame for the slopes being on the novice side. He said, "My wife, Janet, is a perennial beginner, so she was the expert I consulted." But it didn't work. Nobody came to Silver Basin. And so while it opened in 1971, it closed down in 1974. And then there were lawsuits. The owner said the Bank of Stockton were swindling him out of a loan and forcing his foreclosure. And so their 2 lifts and their lodge sat empty for 4 years. Then it reopened as Ski Sundown in 1978, but that didn't do well either. No. Ski Sundown failed a year after it opened. In 1983, it finally opened for a 3rd time as the Iron Mountain Ski Resort. And then they had 5 chairlifts, very close to Kirkwood, which had become really popular by the mid-'80s. One advantage, according to SF Gate, that Kirkwood had over Iron Mountain was its elevation. It was about 1,000 feet higher. So some storms would make the Kirkwood slopes skiable, but Iron Mountain would be left with no snow. So in 1986, then Iron Mountain closes. They blamed increased insurance liability rates. In 1989, it reopened again, but that didn't go very well either. And so it was ignored by the public. And now we have it up for sale. Here it is. By the way, in 1994, it reopened again, one last time, as the Carson Ski Area. But that operator went bankrupt and closed a year later. So it kind of has some bad juju, I think. This new owner asked the U.S. Forest Service to make the site a ski resort in 2000. That request was denied. There have been bankruptcies. It's been really hard to get this thing going. It's being called a bottomless pit of money that you would have to sink into Iron Mountain. But it's for sale, $5.8 million to finally make it work. You think anyone's going to buy it? Maybe someone will make it a private resort. Who knows? Iron Mountain. We'll keep tabs on it and see how they do. Can we talk about this new biomaterial? Kind of interested in sustainable materials and changing things so that we're not putting all this plastic into the environment and garbage into the environment. Well, now here comes this story about using old coffee cups to create this biomaterial. This is going down in London. The folks that are behind it from Blast Studio, they are taking discarded takeout coffee cups and they're creating this material. They call it cup sand. It's a new biomaterial that they're starting to produce at scale now. It's a warm and flecked material marrying the textural qualities of stone and earth. It comes in high density boards that can be used similarly to other products. They can be molded into shapes to make objects like pendant lights or furniture. And they've been presenting versions of cup sand for a while now. Kind of interesting. They're also doing some pioneering work with mycelium, which we talked about recently. It can be grown on many carbon-rich waste materials like straw and sawdust, but this studio, Blast Studio, began using single-use coffee cups as its solution after relocating from Paris to London in 2019. They said in London they were struck by the sheer number of people walking around with takeaway coffee cups. And they knew how problematic these cups are for recycling. They're lined with plastic, they're contaminated with food, and most of them end up in a landfill. But then they kind of got into focusing on mycelium and paper pulp, and they realized mycelium had some limitations. And so then they went to the coffee cup idea and started focusing on that. They had a waste supplier deliver a full ton of single-use coffee cups right to their door. And then they realized the scale of the problem. And that represented only 1 out of the 30,000 tons of coffee cup waste produced in the UK every year, and very little was being done with it. So they said if they wanted to have an impact, they had to step out of the lab and confront the realities of the construction and waste industries. So they manufactured this cup sand independently. They're selling it primarily as a board, with each square meter containing about 840 coffee cups. It's a novel concept. They've already used it in some areas. Here's a bakery in the UK, and you can see they have some cabinetry there with the cup sand used in the paneling. And it's kind of cool looking and decorative. To make the material, they shredded and sterilized the cups to create a paper pulp, removed their plastic lining during this whole process. They added a plastic-free binder to hold the fibers together, and they left it to cure, during which time the material's agglomerated texture forms naturally. The binder, a bio-based formula made from starch and plant-derived gums. Sometimes they add pigments. You can make it blue or white or pink. But it's the natural ones, the charcoal, the chalk colored, that are doing the best. They said it's possible to harness the existing color in the packaging waste as well, because there are red coffee cups from some chains in the UK that make it a pale pink color board. So now they're testing ways to make small design pieces out of the plastic lining, which they removed during the process. That's about 5% of each cup is the plastic lining. It's interesting. I mean, any way to reduce waste is a good thing, right? So it's that time of year again where we trot out the yard decorations, right? And we put them out to bring joy to people who are driving by, to be festive. But what happens every single year? There's always someone trying to destroy our Christmas. And here we have this thief trying to steal here it is. I have the video. Look at him running off with a Jack Skellington from somebody's house. Seriously. Come on now. Very uncool. Happened on October 5th. Someone stealing Jack Skellington out of someone's yard, just running right off with it. I always think the things that we may like the most are maybe not the things that we should be putting outside, because those are the things that people will steal from you. This home security camera in Corona, California, caught the footage of someone running off with a 13-foot tall animatronic Jack Skellington Halloween decoration. It was in their front yard, and this person wanted it and swiped it. Someone in dark colored clothing and a hoodie running down an alley carrying the Nightmare Before Christmas character. They put it on top of their car and off it went into the night with its skeletal hands raised into the air. The Rodriguez family, which owned this animatronic decoration, they said they've had it for many years and they really do want it back. It cost them about $400 when they bought it originally, but it was sold out. And so now on resale websites, it's $1,000. So they can't just replace it for $400. They called the police report filed, looking for anyone with information. I mean, it's a 13-foot tall Jack Skellington. So you can't just go home and put this in your yard. Perhaps, though, someone might be selling it online. So if you see it, maybe call the police, help out a little bit, because that's just rude. Look at that, running off like that. Come on. Horrible. Makes you scared to put anything out in the world. Not a fan. Watch what you put out in your front yard. Is it time for the lottery of the day? Let's do it. It is the lotto of the day. This Maryland man had a good workout at the gym. Thought, I'm going to reward myself because I just kicked butt in that gym. So he makes a quick stop on his way home to the store at the 7-Eleven. And he decides he's going to buy the racetrack virtual horse racing game. And he wins $31,000. He said he placed a superfecta box bet and he scored more than $31,000 when his numbers came up. He said, I almost hit it straight. If I had, it would have given me over $200,000. See, he thinks like I do. I don't want the $31,000. I want the $200,000. He said he's been using the same set of numbers for years. He's going to use his prize money to pay down his bills and to take a family vacation. Not bad for just a little stop on the way home from the gym. I have to tell you about this story. It's kind of bittersweet. Not that I care so much about Father Junipero Serra, whose past is checkered and questionable, right? This statue off of 280 in a little rest area on the peninsula constantly gets vandalized. They just cannot afford to keep it in shape anymore. And so away it goes. This statue was the place where my parents used to trade me. My parents are divorced, and it was halfway from Petaluma and Santa Cruz. It was kind of the midway point. So my mom and dad would stop in this parking lot where Father Junipero Serra is located, and that's where I would hop out of one car and into another. So that's what it means to me, right? Is that moment where your parents are switching. After 50 years of standing over 280, this 26-foot tall statue has been removed. Kind of a landmark, I would say, at 280 at the Crystal Springs rest stop in Hillsboro. But over the summer, Caltrans took it down. They said the installation did not meet current transportation art program requirements. It had been a frequent target of graffiti and vandalism, and so they pulled it down in August. So, and I think we might have talked about it then, but I guess a lot of people didn't realize what happened. And so in recent weeks, there's been chatter on social media with people wondering, where did it go? The folks at Caltrans say the statue has been evaluated for eligibility in the California Register of Historical Resources, but it was deemed ineligible. There are no plans to replace that statue with any other artwork. So this statue was made of concrete and steel rebar. It had Junipero Serra looking out and pointing, as you see here. It was dedicated in 1976. There is another statue of Serra at the U.S. Capitol building, but Father Junipero Serra and his checkered past have come under more attention, I guess you could say, in the recent past because of his role in the California mission system, which enslaved and forcibly assimilated indigenous people. And that led to the destruction of the indigenous culture and the widespread death from disease. So, not a lot of love for Father Junipero Serra when you look back at what happened there. Still, some say he's an important historical figure, that his accomplishments as a Catholic missionary can't be ignored, but maybe aren't worthy of honoring in statuary. So, folks from the Ohlone tribe saying such an honoring offends many indigenous peoples of California, especially the Ohlone, who are the original peoples of the entire San Francisco Peninsula. The folks in the Catholic Church say they don't like how the statue's removal was handled. And so they say it's incumbent upon government to be transparent, not to take actions that appear to single out particular groups in a negative way. Hard to not single out the group that assimilated and caused the trouble for Native Americans, right? I mean, look at the history. I don't think it was the Presbyterians. So I get that Catholics don't want to be singled out, but yet there it is. So yeah, no more Father Junipero Serra. Hopefully they put something else there that's interesting. This surprises me a little bit. This story about Chef Thomas Keller. There is a move to ban non-stick cookware in California because of the chemicals used, PFAS. So there's a bill that, if signed by the governor, would ban cookware containing perfluoroalkyl and perfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, from being sold in the state of California starting in 2028. PFAS are used to create these durable surfaces, including in things like waterproof clothing and food packaging and furniture, but they have some environmental and health impacts, and they're called forever chemicals. They don't naturally break down. And nearly every single American has these synthetic forever chemicals in their blood. We're all walking around with forever chemicals floating around. God only knows what type of health issues we're going to have because of it. So California's bill also bans PFAS from dental floss, food packaging, and cleaning products. And it's not just California. Colorado, Maine, Vermont, they've all passed these types of bans. No word yet on whether Governor Gavin Newsom is going to sign this bill. But, and this is the part that I think is interesting, because I'm for this. I don't want these chemicals around. The faster we get rid of them, the healthier we'll be. I mean, it's too late for a lot of us that have this stuff in us. But imagine someone like my 11-year-old son. You know, if we can lessen the impact, he's still going to have it in his system. But if we can limit it, seems like a better deal to me. But there are now celebrity chefs, including Thomas Keller, Rachel Ray, David Chang. They previously urged California not to approve this ban, writing letters urging California not to include popular cookware products in the ban. some of these chefs have their own lines of cookware products that might be affected. Keller, who owns French Laundry in Napa, he is one of the most famous chefs, wrote to lawmakers, "I respectfully urge you to oppose this proposed ban because," he says, "it would hurt cooks and restaurants." He said, "In both my home and professional kitchens, I rely on non-stick cookware for delicate preparations, precise cooking, and efficient cleanup." I thought most chefs use stainless steel or iron, cast iron, but okay. California Republicans say, "Hey, this cookware is safe to use." We stopped using nonstick cookware in my house years ago. My husband is the cook in our house. He went to stainless steel and cast iron. So I thought if he knew of the dangers, certainly professional chefs would know of the dangers, right? Proponents of this bill say there are already many nonstick cookware products that are made without PFAS. They say there's environmental damage from manufacturing these products, and disposing of them really harms the environment, including our drinking water sources. So I I'm for the ban. I don't know how you feel about it. Get rid of it. We don't need it. As evidenced in my house, we get along just fine without nonstick cookware. Sayonara. All right, I do want to show you this fancy new ship. Just wanted you to see the picture. This is a brand new luxury cruise line that they're testing on the seas from Princess Cruises, making the maiden voyage of the next generation of ocean travel. It is the Star Princess, and it left Saturday from Barcelona on an 11-day journey through the Western Mediterranean. They're going to Marseille and Rome and Naples and Sicily before they head back to Spain. It is the public debut of the Star Princess. Princess Cruises says this redefines modern cruising with luxury design elements, elevated dining, and a focus on immersive entertainment. They say it's one of the largest, most spectacular ships they've ever built, and they are hoping the voyages are safe and the sunset's unforgettable. So there it is. One of the interesting things they're doing is, I'll show you a picture. The entertainment, there it is, the magic entertainment. It's called Spellbound. Spellbound by Magic Castle. It is mostly known in the Los Angeles area for its magicians and illusionists, Spellbound by Magic Castle. The show is now on the ship as well. And they say it blends sleight of hand performances with a 1920s inspired speakeasy setting, taking cues from the original magic castles and their vintage decor. So that'll be interesting to see if you're into cruises. Who knows? But this is a big old ship. Look at that. It is time for Waterfall Wednesday. And boy, do I have some good waterfalls to show you. First of all, I would like to thank Teacher Lori for sending me a video. And the video was titled "A Waterfall from the Inside." And it was only on Blue Sky, and I had a hard time getting a hold of it. But now I've managed to download the video, and here is what it looks like.
Here we have Munson Falls.
That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. This is actually the Ricky O'Bear video. Remember, I had trouble with that one?
Here we have Munson Falls.
But I'm glad I showed you that because I had wanted to.
Here we have Munson Falls.
Oh.
Here we have Munson.
I'll take that away. Thank you, Ricky. Now I want to show you this video from Teacher Lori because I think it's super cool. Here's what it looks like. They write, "Have you ever seen the inside of a waterfall?" And I have to say, it does make me a little dizzy, but here it goes. Wow. Okay. That's pretty cool. Thanks to teacher Lori for that. But yesterday we went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I was so enthralled by Ruby Falls that I thought we could go back and take a look at other waterfalls that are around that area. And most of them we have not seen before. So here's a little look at some of the best waterfalls near Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we'll start with Ruby Falls because they say this is a must see. You can't talk about waterfalls near Chattanooga without mentioning Ruby Falls. It is the tallest underground waterfall in the United States, also the deepest underground waterfall that is open to the public. So here's one picture of Ruby Falls. They have it all lit up and they do it with different colors. I saw yellow and blues and reds and greens and purples. Hard to see, though, really the raw nature of it. So here's a picture of it without, I mean, there's some lighting there, but without all of it. And what is an impressive sight that is. Looks like there's an observation area where you can watch this waterfall inside of a cave crashing down. Really, really incredible. This cascade is about 145 feet tall. It is about 1,100 feet underground. You have to, in order to see this, descend 26 stories or 260 feet in a glass elevator. It's part of, as we talked about yesterday, Lookout Mountain. The only way to see Ruby Falls is to buy a ticket. They do guided tours, several guided tours. They even do a fast one. It's the express tour. Goes right up to the waterfall for a Friday night lantern tour. The shortest tour is a 1 mile round trip walk. They say the bonus of Ruby Falls is that it's dog friendly. You can take advantage of 4 complimentary kennels, each one open air covered and well shaded. So there's a place for your dog. One of the things I noticed about the waterfalls near Chattanooga is that they're maybe not so creatively named. This one is called Falling Water Falls. Yeah, Falling Waterfalls. It's about 20 minutes from Chattanooga, about 110 feet tall. Very short hike to get here. You view this one, this is kind of why it's unique. You view it from the top down instead of from the base. There is no way to see this waterfall from the bottom. Not that's safe or legal. It is inside Falling Water State Natural Area. There's a short hike from the parking lot. Kind of an easy walk, about 1,000 feet from the parking lot. Hardest thing they say to see the waterfall is finding a parking spot because it only holds 3 cars at a time. There's private property signs everywhere, and people often get towed trying to park along the private property. Falling Creek Falls does not flow year-round. It's dry by late summer and throughout fall, but it flows after any major rain. And if you visit right after a storm, it throws off a magical mist. That is Falling Water Falls. How about this one? It's called Blowing Wind Falls. That's so picturesque and beautiful. It looks like a waterfall going down stacked stones in the middle of a forest. Very peaceful looking. It's about 20 minutes from Chattanooga, 30 feet high. It's off the Ritchie Hollow Trail. Blowing Wind Falls is 1.8 miles in on a 2.7 mile long trail. You can hike to the end, but most people turn around at the waterfall. The total distance, 3.5 miles. They say the trail is moderately challenging with a steady uphill the entire way, lots of large rocks to climb over as well. You also will pass by metal scraps, and those are remnants of moonshine stills because it was a popular area for bootleggers before distilleries were legal in Tennessee. There's also Pot Point Cabin along the way, built in 1835 from hand-hewn logs. So kind of cool. You can rent it out for a weekend for $800, but it's really big, so you can have a lot of people stay in there. Very close to this, Blowing Wind Falls. Here's this next one. This is impressive as well. Lula Lake Falls. This one is about a half hour away from Chattanooga. Here's Lula Lake Falls. Wow. This one, if you're listening and not looking, almost looks like twin gusts of water coming over cliffs, like striated rocky cliffs. Beautiful. This is the Lula Lake Land Trust, which is home to the waterfall and also Lula Lake. It has 2 cascades, one upper, one lower. The smaller upper falls flow directly into the lake. The 110-foot tall lower falls, really the attraction here. It's a year-round flow. It's a 4-mile round-trip hike. Lula Lake Falls, considered one of the best waterfalls near Chattanooga. It's actually located in North Georgia on Lookout Mountain. They say the land trust where the waterfall sits is open only to the public on the first and last weekends of every month. So you really have to know when you're going to go see this. They call it open gate or public access days, and it's a $16 fee to get in. The next one is called Cherokee Falls and Hemlock Falls. I have a picture of it. Oh, that's rather picturesque as well. This is one where you could swim behind and look at the waterfall from behind. So beautiful. Done that also about 30 minutes from Chattanooga, Tennessee, but located in Georgia. 60 feet high for Cherokee Falls, 90 feet high for Hemlock Falls. You got to cross the border into Georgia, but you get 2 waterfalls in one here. They are moderate hikes, stunning views. The trail to access them is called Waterfalls Trail. I'm telling you, they're very creative with their naming. It's a 2-mile round trip, but it's very steep, descends 400 feet into a canyon, which means if you're descending, going down, you're climbing straight up on the way back. They have metal steps, 600 metal steps that you have to hike in. Hemlock, the taller of the 2, that you'll see on second on your hike with a dedicated viewing platform as well. Oh, pretty beautiful. Here's another one. Chattanooga, who knew? They had so many beautiful waterfalls. This one is called Foster Falls. It's really pretty. Foster Falls, 40 minutes from Chattanooga, 60 feet high. It is part of South Cumberland State Park, which spans 3 counties, but it's a very popular destination. It tumbles perfectly over the edge of a crescent-shaped rock cliff into a mirror-still pond. If it's a hot day, you are able to take a swim in the pool below the waterfall, which isn't as common with other waterfalls in this area. The hike to get here is short and easy, and there's a viewing platform from above the falls, and then you can descend into the canyon on a series of staircases. There's a bottom of a gorge, and there's a swaying bridge that will get you even closer to this waterfall. Pretty fun. The next one is called Greeter Falls. I have to take a tea break. My apologies. Here's Greeter Falls. Look at that. That's pretty. It is about a half hour away from Foster Falls, also in the Savage Gulf State Natural Area, and it's really scenic. It has upper and lower falls, with the upper falls pool flowing directly into the lower falls. You can swim in the base of this one as well. Not at the upper falls, though, because there's a strong current, and that's really dangerous, but in the lower you can. Short 1-mile hike, easy, family-friendly. As you see here in the photo, there's a spiral staircase descending to the base of the lower falls. So, pretty fun. Here's another one with a really interesting name. This one is called Fall Creek Falls. I have to say, it might be my favorite. Look at that. Fall Creek Falls. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from Chattanooga. It is a 256-foot tall waterfall, the tallest in Tennessee, one of the tallest in the eastern United States, plunges into a lush pool below, and in any season, it's called quite a sight. Because of the size of this waterfall, you can get a great view of Fall Creek Falls without really doing much of a hike, because one of the best scenic overlooks is right a couple steps away from the main parking lot. Or you can go hike the trail. A base trail takes you down 300 feet to the base of Fall Creek Falls. It's steep and there are stairs. You can swim at the base of this waterfall. There is no lifeguard on duty, and it gets really busy here. So, last one on the list is called Ozone Falls. So picturesque that it was featured in the Jungle Book movie. So that's kind of cool. It's unique in that it disappears once it drops into the pool below. It doesn't really disappear. It flows underground and then reemerges a bit further downstream. Ozone Falls, they say, is remarkably calm, a perfect area for swimming, but there is no lifeguard on duty here either, so it's a swim at your own risk situation. Another unique feature of this one is that you can walk behind it into a little alcove and see behind it. There are a lot of pictures taken looking from behind the falls that makes it look like you're inside of a cave, even though it's really just a little alcove. You have, they say, a great view of this single drop waterfall steps from your vehicle, but you've got to go. If you want to do the picture behind the waterfall, you've got to go down the trail. So that's pretty cool. Did you pick a favorite waterfall today? Ruby Falls, Falling Waterfalls, Blowing Wind Falls, Lula Lake, Cherokee and Hemlock. That's pretty picturesque. Foster Falls, Greeter Falls, Fall Creek Falls. I think that one might be my favorite. And then Ozone Falls. Go into the chat. What are you saying? If I were going to name a waterfall, it would be Bottoms Up Falls. Nullifidian. Blowing Wind is my fave, says Eileen. Ms. Organic says, I love the spray off a waterfall. So nice. Yeah. Thank you to Luis for the lovely message and the contribution. Sorely needed and much appreciated. Kim, thank you for continuing to be the queen of kindness and the heart of our YouTube universe. You're so nice, Luis. Being on all 3 shows and being a mom can't be easy. Mahalo much. Oh, well, mahalo to you too. Thank you for always writing the best comments and for your sense of humor and your kindness and your contribution. I really appreciate it. And thus ends the After Party Live. Thank you guys for being here and sharing the waterfalls and everything else. I'm just about at an hour. So tomorrow, Mark Thompson will be back on the Mark Thompson Show. Tomorrow is Thursday, which means Sarah Kenzier will be on the show, as will David Katz, talking about the law and legal cases. And there's a lot to talk about. I want to talk to him tomorrow about the Supreme Court considering mail-in ballots. So we'll do that tomorrow on the Mark Thompson Show. And of course, tomorrow, the Nikki Maduro Show at 5 p.m. And I really hope you'll join for that as well. Let's see. Thank you to Luis. Thank you to Rhonda for the idea to show Jacob's Baby Beluga song, and to Tammy about belugas being cool. And happy birthday to Gordon. If Gordon is here, or even if he's not, we're going to celebrate his birthday with another song from Jacob. It's Jacob's singing day on the
You requested a happy birthday song, so I'm gonna give you one. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
You changed your picture. I love it.